Jay from Team DMA coming at you with another video. So this video is going to be regarding the series of how to. So question is how to what? How to defeat, how to defeat certain decks. So I've been covering these for a while, for years, but I stopped doing them for almost a year, and then I restarted doing them a few days ago. I don't know how long ago, maybe like a week ago. And I just want to cover some of the main decks just in case you're having trouble beating them. Obviously, I play Dark Magician, and I play other decks as well, but I mainly just play Dark Magician. I want to make sure that the Dark Magician community can beat these decks. When you're being told by your favorite Yugi tuber that you can't beat it with the Dark Magician deck, they're lying to you. Don't believe them. They're wrong. And there was a video I showed you guys, I think like 4 days ago, of a famous YouTuber, and he was talking bad about the Dark Magician deck. And in the video I uploaded, it shows you he lost to the Dark Magician deck. So, and I think, like I said, he's at somewhere around 100,000 subscribers. So, like I said, don't believe what they tell you. It's not true. The decks are strong. You just gotta have the right pilot. So this one's gonna be for Labyrinth. So I know specifically the Dark Magician community is very afraid of this. They're currently more afraid of this deck than they are Flunderies, because Flunderies got the statue hit. But if you know the video I made before this one, it covered the Flunderies. So when you go match up with Flunderies, you can laugh at them because they're weak compared to your Dark Magician deck. This one's the Labyrinth. Dark Magician players are very afraid of this deck. In fact, in the comment sections, I think for the last week, I haven't had any negative comments on my videos, which is rare because usually there's always negative comments, and people get emotionally triggered when I say something or when I show a video. They're not satisfied because they think that I rig it, and the same story as always. I pay people to lose. It's rigged. It's not really me dueling. Blah blah blah. They say if the pilot was better, if they would have played this and that, and the story never ends. They go into the fantasy world of the what if world, but they don't want to come to reality. But the truth is, all of these decks, if you know how to maneuver the Dark Magician deck, and just about any deck, but it just so happens that I play Dark Magician, if you know how to maneuver a Dark Magician deck, you could out anything, any deck, any whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. So Labyrinth, if you're having trouble beating Labyrinth, there's about 4 types of Labyrinth. Even though people are going to argue and say there's more, there's mainly somewhere around 4 types of a Labyrinth thing, and they're based on what I've seen, not on my opinion, just based on the experience and the decks that I've dueled that you see here on my channel. The #1 spot is held by the first place multiple times regionals. Like, it always hits regionals first place, and it wins locals everywhere. And that one gets up to like top 16 on the nationals. It's a very broken, nasty, violent Labyrinth deck that plays virus cards. So you can't play spells, you can't play traps, and you can't special summon monsters 1,500 or less. And even though they can't hit monsters that go 1,500 or up, they prefer the small ones because they don't want you to link or nothing, no tuners, nothing like that. So you're dead, you're gone. So Dark Magician players can't win against this deck. It's like it's the nowadays Eldritch. People hated Eldritch as it was, and now we have the new age, the today Eldritch, and that's Labyrinth. Now Labyrinth is mixed with many variation of decks. I've seen it with like Runic, and there's a lot of different variations of it that have different engines and whatnot. And in my experience, the toughest ones are the ones with the virus cards, because they play so violently fast, they draw so violently crazy, and then you can't play spells, trap. By the time you notice, in the same turn, you can't play spells and traps. Sometimes they mix it to where you can't play spells and monsters all in the same turn. So you're just ending your turn and you die, And that's why it does so well at regionals, so well at nationals. And then once it goes in, like, as long as a Labyrinth goes into a locals, you already know it's going to be first place. You're not going to be able to beat it. And that's one of the reasons why I tell people to be careful with your spells, because everyone likes to be like Sky Striker, Runic. There's just so many decks that play a high number of spells. They love to be like that because it gets a high win ratio, because you use spell, draw spell. It's fast, But the problem is once you run into these decks, you have a bad matchup, and people feel like, well, I don't care if I have a bad matchup against this one as long as I can beat all the other decks. And I suppose that's a fine mentality, but the problem with that is there's a community who are afraid of that deck, and you're afraid of it too. So you're a famous YouTuber, and they're trusting you, and you're not helping them. They're on the same page as you are, and that's not a good thing. What you should do is, if you can build a deck to beat it, I know, or better, tell them what to side better. But to be honest with you, when it comes to the Labyrinth, there's a sequence and a pattern you have to play, and you have to play some back row destruction cards in the main. And that's why I always main certain cards, because I know that nowadays you might need them. And in Dark Mission deck, if you don't need them, you can always discard them for draw material. So we're gonna go ahead and start this one up. So this one is the first place regional. I think it's top first place regional 3 or 4 times. And the last time I did it was like a month, I believe, a month ago. And I played this version 4 or 5 times already, and I always beat it. But I wanted to do a quick recap of it, just in case people are having trouble with this deck. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it's super violent, and it's definitely kryptonite to Dark Mission. I've never seen a Dark Mission beat this profile. I probably never will. I typed it in on YouTube and it didn't show anything because I know they haven't been able to beat it. So basically, if you have spells in your deck, it's like Notoria Runic. Dark Mission players can't beat that deck either. It's impossible. You can't play spells. So we're gonna be showing here how to do it, and hopefully you know how to better side, or you might include some cards on your main for the Dark Mission deck. So here we go. So we're gonna go ahead and Salvation, Eternal Set, Rod. We're gonna get the circle, activate the circle. We got the Dark Magician. We're gonna be entering the, what's it called, Artemis, the Moon the Moon Maiden. So you already know that sequence, right? With the Eternal, get back to your hand, blah blah blah. And they're gonna go ahead and typical Eldritch. They're gonna set all the cards face down. So I'm sorry, yeah, like Eldritch, typical Labyrinth, they're gonna set and pass. Usually, sometimes they might set something also, or play a spell or something, but mainly it's all traps. So what you want to do is in the end phase, you're going to want to summon the Dark Magician and banish one of those cards. You have to take your pick, trigger the effect, get right back. And then if we pause here, they were going to destroy 2 of your cards. So in my experience, they usually tend to hit the face down card and the Eternal to get rid of them, because they can pop the circle another way. But those are the first things they want to get rid of, because they don't like any surprises. And if they see like a high number of cards set down, they'll go ahead and trigger the virus for the traps, and all of them are gone. But for the most part, they always go with the spells, is what I've seen. So the Dark Mission deck is dead. All the Dragoon Turbos, they can't beat it. I've seen it. It's funny. It's funny watching those duels. They act like the Dark Mission Turbo is the best, and then I can't stop laughing when I see them get trashed by this Labyrinth first place regional, then top 16 nationals, and it doesn't do anything against our AC 130. So we stopped the punishment, which was gonna pop 2 cards, like I said, and they're gonna trigger the trap tricks. They're gonna set either a virus or a Labyrinth trap, which is all they do, and then they can activate it. So we're gonna chain the skill drain. That's gonna be negating all the monsters that are on the field, and we actually played the Dark Magic attack, and because of the timing, he wasn't able to activate it. But I mean, if you think I'm lying, here are the cards. You can see them for yourself, because people right away always tell me like I'm making stories up and this and that. So they usually, what they do with this one is they'll summon the Dark Magician, because they know this combo. They know some of the decks, so they're well aware of the combos. So when you trigger your Eternal, they chain to it, and then they bring it out, and then they banish either Dragoon and Dark Magician. That's it, you lose. Link Spider, and then what they do here is they like to chain. They always chain to this card here, and it's a Labyrinth card. And all it does, if you read the effects here, it's just sent to the graveyard, and then they're able to pitch a trap from their deck and get it to the hand. They'll set it onto the field, and then if the card is in the graveyard during the time, if any monster, I believe, or spell and trap goes to the graveyard, here you can read it. Oh yeah, it is a monster. If a monster leaves the field, they don't trigger the effect while it's in the graveyard. And then they get it back, and it's just a recurring chain with the rest of the traps, and then you have to deal with no spells. By the time you notice, It feels similar to taking 8 negates, because if you have 4 spells, you can't play them. They're all gone. They're all negated and destroyed because they all go to the graveyard, remember? And after that, they'll change to the traps, and then you're gone. All you have is the monsters, and then they'll eventually hit your monsters as well with all these combos. So we don't want any of that resolving. We already banished the other card, and then we don't want this resolving as triggering the effect. So we're not gonna allow that to happen. We're gonna trigger the cowboy. We're gonna banish that thing. Like my good friend DC says, we gotta get it out of here. um, so so what you did, you essentially stopped 2 combos. You stopped the search from the deck, and then you also stopped the recurring effect from the graveyard that's going to be happening every turn. So he's going to be setting a card face down, and sometimes people make fun of me because I take attacks. But to be honest with you, I don't care about the attacks. If I'm not going to die, I don't care. I'll take the attacks because there's a correct sequence. So what I'm doing is I have to wait till the end so I can chain Eternal and banish the back. You want to look into the future. And that's one of the things about Dark Magician players. Dark Magician players tend to want to win the turn, and that's why they all lose and they all suck. You don't want to win the turn. What you want to do is win the next turn. You want to win the future. If you want to win the whole duel, like the single, that's the mentality to have. You don't want to win that turn. You want to win the next one, because you want to be one step ahead of your opponent. Because what a lot of people do is they'll try to win that same turn, and then they'll win, but then the next turn they lose it, and then they end up losing that single duel, and then you only have 1 more to go, and usually you'll lose 2, and then you lose the whole match. So that's why you don't want to you don't want to do that. You can lose this turn. That's what I do. I'll lose. I don't care. I'll take the attack to my life points. It'll seem like I lost, but what I'm doing is I'm gonna win, because in the future the next turn is mine, and because the next turn is mine, I survived, and I'm gonna be 1 step ahead of my opponent. So we're gonna go ahead and banish the card. And for people who always say that I lie in this, there you see it yourself. So so they have both. They have 3 and 3. They have 3 of these, 3 of the deck devastating, and then the other one. So they hit the spells, the traps, the monsters. There's nothing you can do. And on top of that, recurring effects in the graveyard, and then spells, and then they're chaining, and they're special summoning from the hand. From the hand they go back to the from the field they go back to the hand. If you don't know Labyrinth, that's how it works. It's like a bunch of nasty stuff. It's just a bunch of traps. They're all chaining. You can't play spells, you can't play traps, you can't play monsters. And then, like I said, field spell is activating, chaining, they're specialing, they're bringing from their deck, sending back to their hand, recurring effects, sending back down, getting traps back to their hand, and you're just in a nasty loop, and there's nothing you can do. So, at this point, with the right hand, against this deck, I would highly recommend playing the left hand, because you can stop a trap, and sometimes they love to play, because a lot of people forget this deck also mains 3 evenly matched. So I did see this deck use 2 evenly match against somebody else. It was hilarious, and he smoked the guy. It was funny. They locked them into no spells, and then they played the evenly. It was pretty funny. So you want to play the left hand in the Dark Nation deck against this one, because when they play evenly or they try to chain to a trap, that first trap gets burned, and you can chain to destroy the rest of them, or your Eternal Circle. So we're gonna go ahead, attack. And I'm wondering why I didn't chain, but they do play evenly, and sometimes people, they love to mill their whole hand, and then they don't have enough to finish their life points because they have a chain or they do something, and then they end up playing evenly, and then you lose. And that's why you see me sometimes hold back, because even after they play evenly, I still have a follow-up play, and that's why my win ratio is extremely high. Even when I'm gonna lose a duel, I win it. It doesn't matter. So I went ahead and I linked to stay 1 step ahead. He sets the card face down, and we trigger Eternal to banish, and he already understands what's happening. He understands he was wasting his time, and he was wasting our time, which is more importantly, and he decided not to do that anymore. And he did us a favor, and he's leaving so that we can move forward with something else. And that is how you beat the Labyrinth, being 1 step ahead, forgetting about the front of the monsters, and you have to concentrate on the back row. Some people like to play Feather. You also need the Nightmare Phoenix, definitely, and you just need to pop and pop and pop the back row. If you can keep up with the back row, the deck is dead. But if you let the back row resolve, like if you let them set, like right now, how I was dueling, If instead I worried about the monsters and not the back, they're gonna trigger the virus. All the spells that you saw, they're all gone, all of them. And then next turn, what they'll do is they'll hit my monsters and then chain another virus, and this time they'll hit the traps, and then the all traps are gone, so you lost. And then the table's turn, you're wasting their time and you're wasting your time, so you don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you're winning. Sometimes if you can bring out the Dragoon, bring it out. If not, nobody cares. And if you can OTK, go for the OTK. These are decks that you don't want to linger and play games with. It's funny because you are playing the game with it, but you know what I mean. Like, you can't toy around with it. You want to go for the OTK, FTK, whatever you can. So at this point, I'm always one step ahead of it, and it's already realized it. And yep, and that's the way to win it. So this is the AC 130 again. And for me, if you guys never seen the profile, I made the video 7 days ago. You can go watch it. If you have any questions, leave it down in the comment and I'll send you the link to the video so you can watch it. It's just showing you the AC 130 profile. I did not reveal my extra deck because everybody's extra deck is different, but believe me, the extra deck is pretty broken and it works awesome with this deck. It's super broken. People have a hard time outing it, and I have about 8 boss monsters, so it's pretty sick. And that's pretty much it. Even if something did happen, we have the super poly to outpace them if anything gets crazy. And we also have the bestial engine starting up on top of everything. The first spell is going to be negated. We got the banish, skill drain. This guy's doing nothing. He's just wasting our time. So this is a lot of negations and interruptions, a lot. And that doesn't even count with the hand. Look at the hand. The hand, you have another interruption, 2 more interruptions. And it actually becomes 3 because the Dressworm is like 2, because you stop it with the banish, that's 1, stop the attack, and then it goes to the graveyard to pop, so it's like 2 or 3. So right here alone you have a lot of interruptions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have like 6 interruptions and 2 negations, and if you put them together it's 8. And that's not even the beginning. We still have more in the deck. We have a Dragoon, multiple other negates with floodgates, so they're not going to be able to do nothing with 1 card, and it's not even being active. You being somewhere out of 8 negations and interruptions, believe me, you're at least 6 turns ahead of him. And that's the whole model of playing Dark Mission the right way. You don't want to play for that turn. You want to play for the next 2-3 turns in the future. And that's essentially what you're doing. They're dealing with you like if you came from the future, like if you came from 3 turns in the future and you came right now. Similar to like the movies that they show people that they go to the future and then they come back. That's what it is. That's the feeling that people get. You're from the future turns. Your cards and your draw and everything's from the future turns. And they're in the present turn. They only have 1 and you have 8, and that's what's really going on. It's a no-brainer, very simple, but people don't understand it. So that's pretty much it. If you like the video, and if you're still having trouble with Labyrinth or any of the other decks that I made a video, let me know and I'll cover it in more detail. But this is pretty much it. It covers everything. I play Twin Twisters and just staying 1 step ahead of them always. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know. Also, like, comment if you like the video. I appreciate it to all you guys. Special thanks to DC for always coming by, stopping by. And Dark Magic Attack.